Why alcohol relapse is so deadly. You can be off for months, years, days. If you relapse, lots of bad things are going to happen to you. I know that from experience. Because you think you're cured, don't you? You think everything's going to be fine. But what basically happens is, the longer you're sober, the less tolerance you've got. If you start drinking again, it can actually lead to alcohol poisoning. Because your body's tolerance has dropped so much. And it's incredibly quick. And I once heard somebody say, relapse is a bit like drinking, not much buzz. You don't get the hang of it, but you go straight back to withdrawal because the body's in shock. Now, it can also lead to people binge drinking, all sorts of issues. And we sometimes get into this trap where we think we're cured now. But if you haven't had a drink for a long time, because your tolerance is lower, it can really creep up on you and you feel the need to drink the next day. It can also cause mental health problems because you feel guilty and you feel shamed and all this sort of thing. And you just can't get off it. That was my problem. Why can't we get off it? I've spoken to many people who've been off it for a month, a week, a year. And as soon as they have one, they feel as if they've got to go back on it again. Because we can't have one, can we? So it causes so many issues with relapse. When you feel that you're cured, you feel you can have one drink, it's the most dangerous time. Because you feel as if, well, I'm all right now. I want to go back on the get back in the game, on the game. And I'll be able to go to the pub, meet John and Mary and all this sort of thing. But you can't do that. And as I said before, it's a bit different to a mistake, because you often hear people say, oh God, I've got a spiked drink, that sort of thing. You can deal with that. But when you actually make a choice to start again, that can cause you so many issues. And I once heard a case of somebody been off for 15 years, had about 2 or 3 lagers, and they had alcoholic poisoning because their body had really changed to a reset, and it was the shock of going back on it again. So when you're off it, you've got to really be very, very mindful of relapse carry on, because it's so easy, and so many people who have actually got off alcohol for life, should we say, have relapsed a lot in the past. It wasn't until they got right down to the bottom of the bottle with health and all the rest of it that they actually did stop for life. So in my view, what you've got to do, every time you feel like picking up a drink, you've got to try and remember how bad you were when you last had a problem with it, because that should reset your mind. I can't have this pint of Guinness, I can't have this pint of lager, because what's going to happen is I'll be back in hospital again. I'm going to end up with no money again. I'm going to end up in a jail cell again. All this sort of thing. And you have to focus on the bad points and not the good points. Because relapse can also take you into binge drinking or the feeling, oh, I don't give a toss anymore. I'm back on it. And you're very quickly back on it. And like I said, you don't get much of a buzz, you just drink because you're dependent on it. And when I went on back after 8 years sober, in 2014, I had 1 or 2 pints a couple of times a week, and that built up over a period of time, a short period of time, and I was back on it all the time. I was feeling so ill the next day, even with a few drinks, I had to have hair of the dog, which started another bad spiral of addiction. Because the addiction's always there. You're never cured of this. You just got to be able to manage it, and manage it with structure. And the structure is you've gone drink again. You've closed the door, you've closed the chapter and that sort of thing. So when you drink again after a while, it has all sorts of issues linked up with it, and other diseases, other problems come out. If you've got blood pressure that's settled down, that'll spike again. If you had any pancreatitis, that'll start to spike again, and all the rest of it. And people have accidents because they're so intoxicated. If you've been used to drinking 10 pints a day and you're suddenly drinking another 10 pints after 5 years off the drink, it's like double or treble the quantity. And so your body can't deal with that. Your mind can't deal with that. People have accidents. People talk about committing suicide. They think, 5 years I've been off the booze. I'm back to square one. The bottom line is you can't risk going back to square one. And the only reason you can really be 100% sure of not going back to square one is by not drinking the first drink. Not making a conscious decision to go back on the booze. You've got to avoid that at all costs. I'm not going to have another drink because I know where it's going to take me. And forget about all this boredom factor. the fear of missing out. You're missing out on nothing. You're actually extending your life by not drinking. You're adding to a better quality of life. You're adding life to your years, not just years to your life. Because most heavy drinkers won't last long. If they do last a bit longer than an alcohol-dependent person, they'll have lots of problems with health. You know, on mobility scores, they've got broken hips, they've got fractured skulls. I know a couple of guys who've died last year or so. One was a pastor, he drank too much, and he kept falling over. Eventually, he fractured his skull, and he died. Intelligent guy doesn't discriminate this, you know. It's what he did with me. And I was amazed after 8 years how quickly I'd gone back into full-blown withdrawal. No hangover, just withdrawal. Because you know, if you drink a reasonable amount, next day you feel a bit groggy, a bit dizzy, you've got a bit of a dry throat, you know, dry mouth, whatever, you may have spent a few quid. But I went back on it. It hit me like a train. And I was so quick to go back to basically feeling like I did, you know, the 8 years before that. That's a bit later. And if you can just maneuver around this first drink, you should be okay. Because the secret is to keep off it for as long as you can. It's as simple as that. And if you go back on it, get off it again. It's not that easy, but you've got to focus. If you've had a couple of pints, don't start drinking one thing, oh bollocks, I'm back on it. You've got to get back on the sober trail. And even that in itself can be difficult. I was talking to somebody the other day who'd been off it for 5 years, had 1 or 2 drinks, and it took them another year to get off it again. It's a weird thing. I've got nobody can explain why alcoholics, when they relapse, they get so attached to it again, both mentally and physically, because that's what happens. And you cannot get out of it without really strong willpower and a lot of help. And that's why I do these lives as well. You know, I've got a one-to-one mentoring service to try and get people off their booze. And the number one thing I tell them is to do not relapse. Do not pick up the first drink. As soon as you've done that, keep it away from you. Mentally keep it away from you, because it'll kill you. Before it kills you, it'll disable you. It's a long, painful death sometimes, alcohol-related liver disease, and pancreatitis, and strokes, and heart attacks, and the cancers that are linked with it. You're not going to do yourself any favour. And for that one little buzz you think you're going to get, you'll be thrown into a whole world of pain, and a whole world of trouble will follow you. Because there are no benefits to drinking alcohol. None whatsoever. There's every benefit to being sober. That's the game. You've got to be sober to enjoy your life. You've got to be sober to have a healthy life. Because after all, I'm here to help people getting their health back. Because without health, you have nothing. And I noticed that. Well, I didn't notice that. I realised that when I was in hospital. I was told by the doctor, you've got long to live, basically. If you drink again, you'll die in 6 months. That was the message I was told. And I stuck to that. I've stuck to that for 6 years. And I want you to take the same message away. If you're sober, stay sober. I've got an ebook out as well, Get Sober, Stay Sober. All the links in the description of the video. Keep positive, keep healthy, keep sober, be fine. If you benefit from the videos, then please like and subscribe and share the channel if you can. And I'll speak to you all very soon.